The Cask of Amontillado. Adapted by Edgar Allan Poe. I had suffered many wrongs from Fortunato, and I had endured them as best I could. But when he insulted me, I swore I would take revenge. You, who know me well, will understand that I did not threaten him. No, my revenge would come in time, and I had planned it carefully. I would make sure I was avenged, and I would do it without being caught. Revenge is meaningless if the person taking it suffers as well. It is also meaningless if the one who has done wrong does not realize who has punished him. Fortunato never suspected me. I never said or did anything to make him doubt my friendship. I continued to smile at him as I always had. Only now, my smile came from the thought of his destruction. Fortunato had one weakness. Although he was a man respected by many and even feared by some, he was overly proud of his knowledge of wine. Few Italians truly love fine wine for its own sake. Most only pretend to be experts to impress wealthy foreigners. Fortunato, like others, pretended to know about art and jewelry, but when it came to wine, he was sincere. In this, we were alike. I also knew a great deal about Italian wines and bought them whenever I could. It was dusk, one evening during the wild celebrations of Carnival, when I met Fortunato in the street. He greeted me with great excitement, for he had already been drinking. He was dressed in a colorful costume, wearing a tight-fitting striped outfit with a cone-shaped hat decorated with bells. I was so delighted to see him that I shook his hand over and over again, as if I would never let go. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, what luck to meet you. You are looking very well today. But listen, I have received a barrel of what is supposed to be Amontillado, but I have my doubts." "What?" he said. "Amontillado? A whole barrel? Impossible. And during the carnival?" "I have my doubts," I repeated, "and I was foolish enough to pay full price for it without asking you first. I couldn't find you, and I was afraid of missing a good deal." "Amontillado." "I have my doubts." "Amontillado." "And I need to be sure." "Amontillado." "But since you are busy, I am going to Lucchese. If anyone can tell if it is real, it is him." Lucchese couldn't tell Amontillado from regular sherry. "And yet some people say his taste is as good as yours." "Come, let's go." "Go where?" "To your wine cellar." "My friend, no. I don't want to take up your time. I see that you have other plans. Lucchese." "I have no plans. Come with me." "My friend, no. It is not about my plans, but about your bad cold. I can see that you are unwell. The wine cellar is terribly damp. The walls are covered with mold." "Let's go anyway. The cold is nothing," Fortunato insisted. "Amontillado, you have been fooled. And as for Lucchese, he cannot even tell the difference between sherry and Amontillado." As he spoke, Fortunato grabbed my arm. I put on a black silk mask and pulled my cloak tightly around me. I allowed him to rush me toward my house. No servants were home. They had all left to enjoy the carnival celebrations. I had told them I would not be back until morning and had strictly ordered them not to leave the house. But I knew very well that as soon as I left, they would all disappear to join the festivities. I took 2 torches from their holders. I gave one to Fortunato and led him through several rooms until we reached the archway that led down to the cellars. We walked down a long, twisting staircase. I warned him to be careful as he followed me. Finally, we reached the bottom and stood together on the damp ground of the Montresor family catacombs. Fortunato was unsteady on his feet, and the bells on his hat jingled as he walked. "The barrel," he said. "It is farther ahead," I replied. "But look at the white web covering the walls of these tunnels." Fortunato turned toward me and looked into my eyes. His vision was cloudy and his eyes were watery from too much drinking. "Niter?" he asked after a pause. "Niter," I confirmed. "How long have you had that cough?" He coughed so much that he could not answer for several minutes. "It's nothing," he finally said. "Come," I said firmly. "Let's go back. Your health is important. You are rich, respected, admired, and loved. You are happy, just as I once was. You are someone people would miss if anything happened to you. But for me, it doesn't matter. We should go back. You will get sick and I can't be responsible. Besides, there is always Lucchese." "Enough," he interrupted. "This cough is nothing. It won't kill me. I will not die from a cough." True, I agreed. I had no intention of frightening you, but you should be careful. Here, drink some of this medoc. It will protect us from the damp air. I took a bottle from a row of many that were lying against the damp walls. I broke off the neck of the bottle. Drink, I said, handing him the wine. Fortunato raised the bottle to his lips with a sly grin. He paused for a moment, nodded at me as if we were old friends, and the bells on his hat jingled. I drink, he said, to the dead who rest around us. And I replied, to your long life. He took my arm again, and we continued walking. These cellars, he said, are very large. The Montresors, I answered, were once a great and powerful family. I forget your family crest, he said. It is a large golden foot in a blue field, I explained. The foot is crushing a snake, and the snake's fangs are biting into the heel. And the motto? Nemo me impune lacessit. Good, he said. The wine made his eyes sparkle, and the bells on his hat jingled as he walked. I, too, felt warmed by the medoc. We passed through narrow tunnels lined with walls of bones, mixed with old barrels of wine. We were now deep in the catacombs, in the most hidden part of the vaults. I stopped again. This time I boldly grabbed Fortunato by the arm, just above the elbow. The nitre, I said. Look, it is getting thicker. It hangs from the ceiling like moss. We are now deep under the river. Water drips from the walls and among the bones. Come, let's go back before it's too late. Your cough. It's nothing, Fortunato insisted. Let's keep going, but first another drink of medoc. I broke open a bottle of de Grave and handed it to him. He drank it all in one breath. His eyes lit up wildly and he laughed. Then, suddenly, he threw the empty bottle into the air with a strange gesture. I looked at him confused. He repeated the motion. It was odd and exaggerated. You don't understand? He asked. No, I replied. Then you are not part of the Brotherhood. What do you mean? You are not a Mason, he said. Yes, I answered quickly. I am a Mason. You? Impossible. A Mason? A Mason, I repeated. Then show me a sign, he demanded. This is the sign, I said. I reached into my cloak and pulled out a trowel. You're joking, Fortunato said, stepping back a few paces. But let's go on and find the Amontillado. As you wish, I replied, slipping the trowel back under my cloak and once again offering him my arm. He leaned on me heavily as we walked forward, continuing our search for the Amontillado. We passed through a series of low arches, going down deeper and deeper. The air grew thick and foul, making our torches glow instead of burn with a steady flame. At the farthest end of the crypt, there was another, smaller chamber. Its walls were lined with human bones, stacked all the way to the ceiling, just like in the great catacombs of Paris. 3 of the walls were still covered in bones, but on the 4th wall, the bones had been removed and thrown onto the floor, forming a large pile. Where the bones had been removed, there was a narrow, dark recess in the wall. It was about 4 feet deep, 3 feet wide, and 6 or 7 feet high. It seemed to have no real purpose. It was just an empty space between 2 large stone columns that held up the ceiling of the catacombs. The back wall was solid granite. Fortunato lifted his weak torch, trying to see into the darkness of the recess, but his light was too dim to show how far it went. Go ahead, I said. The Amontillado is inside. As for Lucchesi— He is a fool, Fortunato interrupted, stepping forward unsteadily. I followed closely behind him. In seconds, he had reached the back of the narrow space. When he realized he could go no farther, he stopped, confused and dazed. A moment later, I chained him to the granite wall. 2 iron rings were set into the stone about 2 feet apart. One held a short chain, the other a padlock. It only took a few seconds to wrap the chain around his waist and lock it. He was too shocked to fight back. I stepped away from the opening, holding the key in my hand. Run your hand along the wall, I said. You can feel the nitre. It is very damp down here. One last time, I ask you, will you go back? He did not answer. Then I must leave you, I continued. But first I must do you one last favor. The Amontillado, Fortunato cried, still confused. Ah, yes, I said, the Amontillado. As I spoke, I turned to the pile of bones on the floor. I pushed them aside and uncovered a stack of stones and a pile of mortar. With these materials, and my trowel, I began to build a wall, sealing the entrance of the recess. I had barely finished the first layer of bricks when I realized that Fortunato was sobering up. The first sign was a low, moaning sound from inside the dark recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. Then, there was complete silence. I continued my work. I built the second layer, then the third, then the fourth. Suddenly, I heard the chains rattle violently. The sound continued for several minutes. I stopped working and sat down on the pile of bones, listening with satisfaction. At last, the chains went still. I picked up my trowel again and kept working, laying the 5th, 6th, and 7th rows of bricks. Now the wall was almost up to my chest. I paused and lifted my torch, letting its weak light shine on the figure inside. A sudden burst of loud, shrill screams filled the vaults, so powerful they seemed to push me backward. For a moment I hesitated. I even trembled. I pulled out my sword and reached into the dark opening, feeling around blindly. But then I calmed myself. I placed my hand on the solid stone walls of the catacombs. Yes, I was safe. I stepped back toward the wall and responded to Fortunato's screams. I shouted back. I matched his cries. I even made them louder, stronger. My voice echoed through the tunnels, shaking the very bones around me. Then he went silent. It was now midnight and my work was almost done. I finished the 8th, 9th, and 10th layers. I placed the 11th layer of bricks. There was only one stone left to seal the wall completely. It was heavy. I struggled to lift it and put it in place. Then, from inside the niche, I heard a low, chilling laugh. The hairs on my head stood up. A moment later, I heard a sad, weak voice. It was Fortunato, but I could barely recognize it. The voice said, "Ha, ha, ha, he, what a great joke!" Fortunato laughed weakly. "An excellent trick. We will laugh about this many times at the palace. He, over our wine. He. "The Amontillado," I said. Hey, yes, the Amontillado. But isn't it getting late? Won't they be waiting for us at the palace? The Lady Fortunato and the others? Let's go now." "Yes," I said, "let's go." "For the love of God, Montresor." "Yes," I said, "for the love of God." But after those words, there was only silence. I waited, but he did not answer. I grew impatient. "Fortunato," I called. No response. I called again. "Fortunato." Still, no answer. I took a torch and pushed it through the small opening, letting it fall inside. The only sound that came back to me was the soft jingle of the bells on his hat. A strange sickness filled my heart, but it was only because of the damp air in the catacombs. I hurried to finish my work. I pushed the last stone into place and sealed it with mortar. Then, I rebuilt the wall of bones in front of the new bricks, hiding everything. For 50 years, no one has disturbed them. Rest in peace.